CSR is corollary to the business. Just underline it, bold, and make it magnified in your mind and in your thought process. In India, the CSR is corollary to the business. Just now, the income tax, the CBDT has come out with ITR 6, income tax return ka form aa gaya, form number 6, where as an expenditure you can show it as part of your profit and loss statement, right? So, whenever a company does CSR, it should not feed the business directly, the bottom line or the top line or whatever. But if it does good CSR as corollary, it gets brand building. So you have a brand, suppose ITC has got a brand. Now the brand will build if it does good business, and the brand can also build if it does good CSR. That brand can then drive so many other things. So we don't want CSR to directly contribute to the business. It can contribute to the brand, and the brand can then do n number of things. Does that clarify?
Yeah, Aditya, it is good that you have raised this question. I don't want people to live with the impression which you had also said. When I say that we don't do charity, that means that there are programs, means activities which can be done as a checkbook philanthropy, which definitely is a genuine cause. I am not saying it is wrong, but we didn't get into that approach. When we say that we do it as business means that we believe that it is part of our business life. It is not something which is standalone, means there is no CSR team separately for whom company gives some money, do some good thing and just give me good name, that's all. It was not like that. It's embedded into business as part of triple bottom line approach which you all believe in. So we thought that these are our stakeholders and we work with them like how we do our business activity. Also in the same way we work with their needs, for their needs as part of stakeholder engagement. And it is not that I am doing some good thing for them, I am doing good for me, because all stakeholders engagement and equity issue when it is addressed, only then I can be there for another 100 years. That's how company has looked at. That doesn't mean that we are doing business activity. It's not any sale or something that we are doing. We do watershed and many other things. And I please request Ms. Kasturi Das also, if possible, to arrange visits. We are very much for that. Because we are the corporate who very proudly say, and we were there while IICA was formulating many of its policies. We took Dr.
Chatterjee visited your place
twice to our locations, because he also framed many ideas. He visited many other companies also. There is very strong ground presence, and in area of natural resource management, we are the largest player.
I'd just like to add one thing, because we are getting into some deeper aspects of CSR and what it is and what it is not. Remember, CSR is about spending rupees. It's an accounting now. It's about spends. अगर आप लोगों ने ये note पढ़ा होगा, I think I got this circulated. IC, this is Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. This is the guidance note on how you must account for the rupees that you spend. It is critical. Please read this. This is like a Bible for you. This is downloadable free. And section 133 talks about this of the act. Section 133 says that the ICSI, ICAI will come out with certain notes and guidances on how the 2% that is spent should be built into your accounts. Because that is what will get audited. That is what will get submitted to the government. That is on which people will ask you questions tomorrow. So it is very important. And Aditya, again I would like to say, suppose an ITC or any company gives funding to an NGO, and in a surrogate way, those people get trained, suppose, to then develop something which contributes to making, suppose, their ahar atta, or suppose whatever there is the flour that they make directly, Ashirwad, sorry. It can be questioned by a third party evaluator that this is then feeding the supply chain of the business. Because then you can say it is not corollary to business, it is actually feeding the business, right? So this is where a huge amount of debate happened, and it is still happening. So we at the IICA are very clear to tell companies, do not get into grey areas, please. Try to give that money which is actually corollary and which actually feeds your brand. Don't let it feed your bottom line or top line. So that's, I thought let me share this with you.
So, as a follow-up, I would just like to ask, how is the CSR index going to verify if they are going into a supply chain thing, or are they going to...
Very good question. Now you're getting a little deeper, and I'm happy about this. So suppose a company is funding a school, a primary school, where you want children to learn better maths. And suppose this is a company called Tech Mahindra. I was with the Tech Mahindra company before I came to the IIC. I was with the Mahindras. and we make software. And suppose they make a software which actually helps them to do better maths. And suppose the CSR department through the NGO buys this software from the business part of the company. And the business part of the company shows this as an input to their bottom line or the top line or whatever. Then if I'm making an index where Tech Mahindra Foundation is applying or the Tech Mahindra company, I could give them a negative valuation on that. And it could deflate their indexing final figure that comes over there. That is one thing. Second is, if there is an evaluation by the government, today there is none, but there is a monitoring committee right now under Mr. Anil Baijal, former Secretary Government of India, and a report is expected any day. Please be very alert. There is a 6-month बहुत in-depth report आने वाली है अगले कुछ दिनों में on the way CSR has rolled out in year 1. Both at the way the government has passed on to the companies the rules and the way the companies have passed on their budgets to the implementing agencies for the beneficiaries as to what has been the change. A lot of data analytics is going to happen in the next 3 months. All of that will feed the index that we are trying to prepare with the Bombay Stock Exchange.
Yeah, no, I have a question for Mr. Pant, which as an implementing agency, of course, we don't have any problem, but we do face this one. Is CSR money, do the spending under CSR get tax rebate? When I say tax rebate, some companies ask for ATG certificate, some companies say we have to show it as an expenditure and can't show it as a donation and get an ATG. What is the exact position?
So that's a very interesting piece again. The companies have been saying that what I give on CSR, so suppose let's say 100 rupees is my, let's say suppose I have a business process and corollary to that is my CSR, right? Now as per the law it says that within the business process, in the last 3 years, you make an average net profit, alright, if you qualify, and 2% of that average net profit, which is given by another section, is to be your budget. There is a formula which has been given in the law. And the formula says that if you are a qualifying company, then in the last 3 years, का आपका जो average net profit है, उसका 2% has to be taken out as a separate budget. Companies wanted to say that since this 2 rupees is also part of my overall revenues, please bill it as an expense of my business. And then the net is on which I pay the taxes. Because you pay a tax on the net of your expense. No? Suppose you earn 100 bucks and you spend 60 bucks. You then pay a tax on the 40 bucks. So they wanted to have this built into their business. But the law says CSR is corollary to the business. So the income tax people say that no, it is outside it. Now this is one part of it. So that's why the income tax returns form number 6 has come out. Now suppose Terry, you are a trust, I think.
Yeah.
Terry is a trust. So Terry is an NGO. So you can be an 1860 society, you can be a trust, you can be a Section 8 company, right? Or you can be a company foundation, which could be any of these three. If you are ATG exempted, ATG is another section under the Income Tax Act of 1961. You get 50% rebate. If you are exempted by section 35AC, 35AC भी एक section होता है, उसमें अगर मैं एक NGO हूँ और मैं गरीब से गरीब आदमी के लिए सेवा करता हूँ, तो मुझे the income tax gives me 100% exemption, right? So Terry का suppose ये lighting a billion lives project को अगर ये income tax में register करा लेते हैं 35AC में, और मैं एक महिंद्रा कंपनी हूँ जो 100% बेनिफिट चाहता है अपनी CSR डोनेशन से, that could be an incentive for me to give him more money. So for an NGO, fundraising is a major strategy right now, and they need to understand tax implications. If they can have those tax exemptions which can motivate companies to give them more money so that they get more tax benefits, it is the way to go about. So if you are exempted under ATG, under section 35AC, there's another section called 1023C, which is given very rarely. It is primarily with the Prime Minister's Relief Fund, etc. That again gets 100% tax exemption to the donor as well as your own income if you generate. So there are some tax clauses and sections which promote, before the act was there, which promoted donations to NGOs. So that remains because that's part of the Income Tax Act. So those remain. For CSR, the money that you give, and that's why the companies say कि नहीं आपने एक और tax लगा दिया, तो हम कह रहे हैं कि ये tax नहीं है because don't give the money to the government. How do you define tax? Tax is when you give money to the government coffer. So the money remains with the company, and the company gives it to the NGO. You may work in a government school, don't give it to the government school account, because then it is a tax, then you lose control. We don't want companies to lose control. They must control the money because they have the policy, because they are reporting it. You give it to an NGO which may collaborate with a government entity, and then you report it. So the law has all aspects to it, and when a lot of people, when I'm going around the country, and a lot of these consulting firms like a McKinsey or a KPMG and all with their development sector practices have, unfortunately, most of them have not understood the sense and spirit of the law. Always remember, when you interpret a law and there is a gray area, go back to the sense and spirit of the law. Why was the law created? And I began with that in the beginning. क्योंकि आपने ज़्यादा पैसा कमाया और अगर आप 3 साल से कमा रहे हैं अच्छा प्रॉफिट, तो क्यों ना आप औरों को भी कुछ करें. That is the sense and spirit. So any interpretation we do, if we keep that in mind, then it really helps us.
Okay, next question please.
Started with an initiative, and it has created a lot of buzz, and it has added to the brand. It has led to the brand building. So initially it has created a lot of buzz. In few months they are doing many things, but the outcome is zero. So would that thing be included as a CSR activity or just a brand building activity? How good is it on ethical grounds? And do actually ethics have to do anything with CSR? Because ultimately it is leading to brand building. So isn't it ultimately just a brand building exercise?
So you want me to answer?
Yes.
Abhishek? Alright, so first I would like to ask you, the money that this company is spending from which account? The business account or the CSR account? That's my counter question to you first.
The CSR account.
So if it is a CSR account, then when you say the outcome is zero, what do you mean by that?
The initiative was supposed to
Suppose it was primary education support to an NGO.
Yes.
So when you say zero output, what do you mean?
Like it was for creating a platform and facilitating people to educate poor people. So ultimately, the people who came up to educate people, they were reducing, and it died off.
So
There
Abhishek,
was
one minute, Abhishek, I need to quickly first tell you how the process works. Then your question will be more informed. When a company makes a policy, within a company there is an entire process that has to be created. There is a CSR committee of the board which makes the policy, and there is a CSR department which can have a CSR head, right? Then they have to have a grant proposal. Suppose I am an NGO and you are the donor, you are the company, you are the CSR head. You will have a form called the grant proposal form. I must fill that form and then commit to you that if you give me $100, then this is what I will do. Qualitative and quantitative. मैं इतने बच्चों को पढ़ाऊंगा और उनके मुंह में मुस्कान आएगी, ये क्वालिटेटिव हो गया थोड़ा. मैं इतने बच्चों को पढ़ाऊंगा 2 साल में, इनकी गणित क्लास 3 में अभी इनकी लेवल 1 था, लेकिन जब तक ये क्लास 5 में आएंगे तो इनकी लेवल क्लास 4 या 5 तक आ जाएगा. ये क्वांटिफाइबल आउटपुट है. उसके लिए प्री टेस्ट एंड पोस्ट टेस्ट किए जाते हैं. It's a very scientific way. It's called social return on investment, right? So when you say कि zero होगा, तो ये तो एक बड़ा it's not a very clear question, because zero होना नहीं चाहिए पहली बात, क्योंकि अगर मेरे में दम ही नहीं था as an NGO, then you shouldn't give me any money. You need to first check whether I have the capacity. Once you've checked that I have a capacity and I start delivering, then you have to monitor my work. You have to be on it with your program managers. Now, if that output is good, bad or ugly, it may impact your brand. Your effort as a company should be to get the best NGO, to get the best impact, and do the best development communication, and then do the best possible brand building.
There was a case with the Times of India. What happened was that they created a platform wherein they invited people over that you can't